Welcome to Grasping God's Word, Chapter 8, the ninth lecture in this series. And the first part of this lecture will be presented somewhat unusually because of technical error, namely, the presenter forgot to turn on the camera before starting the program. So here we go. The first 7 slides will be presented in this manner, and then we will switch to part 2 for the actual presentation live. In this picture here, we see some persons here, and the question is, who are they? And first we look at the people themselves, and we can see that they're all in shorts and t-shirts. They're in a warm, sunny climate, and they are all Caucasians. And the question is, are they at home? Are they abroad? Where exactly are they, and what are they doing? So looking at them, there is really no significant clue to be gained from them. But when we pan back a little and we look at their surroundings, then there are clues that um, gives us some idea as to what's going on. And the biggest clue here is the writing that you see at the top of that store. It's obviously not English. It's most likely not in the United States or um, Canada or Europe or even any of the um, African countries. It looks more Asian. And then there is that tap tap at the bottom, or the little taxi. It looks like there's a motorcycle handle, and that's typical of that you see in Asia, India, China, Vietnam. And then you look further and you can see these massive wires here that are on the top, and also running across the top of the street. And that gives you a clue that you're most likely not in the United States, and that these people are most likely tourists. Look at the second picture here. Who is that man and what is he doing? You can see that he has a flag. He is speaking to this group of people here. It's a very busy area. And you can see that the people have earphones. And if you look closely at the man, you can see that he has a microphone clipped to his lapel. So most likely he's a tour guide. So the man himself gives us clues because he has the flag and he has the mic on, and he's speaking to a group of people as if he's instructing them. And then looking at the surroundings, you can see that the people he's speaking to also have mics, and it's a very busy touristy type of area. So this person is most likely a tour guide. And this brings us to the topic of our lesson tonight, which is the literary context. And it is the task of the professor to take an ordinary everyday activity, as we just demonstrated, and make it as complicated as they can, and then present it back to you as exceptional knowledge. But these are activities that we do every day on a subconscious level. We have been so trained to look at the subject matter first and then look at the surrounding areas for clues, that it's second nature to us. But when we present it in this technical way, it sometimes can seem daunting and sometimes can seem intimidating. Okay, so why is context important? Without a context, words become meaningless. You can say that words don't have meaning, they have usage. So you use words like bark, the bark of a tree or the bark of a dog. Depending on the context, it means two different things. Context is crucial. the most important principle of biblical interpretation is context determines meaning. So whether you know the Greek or the Hebrew, or you merely speak the language in which you were born, though the description of the or the neighborhood of the word will give you a very good idea what the word means. There are two aspects of literary context. One is the literary genre, and two, the surroundings. The literary genre really describes the form in which the writer delivers the message, the form of the writing. And the surroundings explain the neighborhood of the word or words that you are studying. What are the other words, sentences, paragraphs, discourses, chapters, book that surrounds your passage? So the literary genre is the how, the form the passage takes to tell the story or to deliver the message. The what is the content of the passage. So there are different types of genres. In the Old Testament, there are narratives, law, poetry, prophecy, and wisdom. In the New Testament, there's gospel, history, letter, and apocalyptic literature. In the latter lectures, we will look at each genre to see what are the rules for each genre and how do you approach them when you're interpreting one genre versus another. A narrative is a story. It's designed to pull you into the activities and get you committed, often to a hero or a villain or to both. And you begin to root for one or the other, and you get really caught up in what's happening, and you're totally immersed in the story if it's a good story. But behind the story, there is a message that you internalize without even knowing it. So a good movie will get you rooting for the hero, or rooting against the villain, and the message may be that good always triumphs over evil, or the message may be that evil is not so evil after all. So that's what the Old Testament narratives like Kings and Chronicles and so forth tends to do. Then there's law, which declares or commands what to do. And poetry aims not so much at the story, but at emotions. And the important thing about poetry is that you need to look at the figure of speech and look at the word pictures that are being painted, and place yourself in the picture and experience what the word picture is trying to convey. Don't just analyze it in an intellectual manner, but really feel what the author is trying to get you to feel. So it aims at your emotions, and the others we will deal with eventually. In New Testament, the Gospels is a type of narrative, a story, but it's specifically designed to tell the life of someone. So it's a biography, but it's a biography in a specific way. So it may not be accurate in terms of time when one event happened in relation to another, but it is aimed at telling a particular, giving a particular message about a person. So, and letters act in a different way. Letters are the epistles in the New Testament. Usually they are addressing a particular problem, and they address the problem one thought at a time, and each thought builds one upon the other. So the letter moves as one unit from problem to solution. And it's very important to realize that whatever passage you're studying, it has a certain function within that flow of ideas from problem to solution. And unless we recognize that, we will lose the significance of that particular passage in the river of ideas that's occurring in the letter. There are subgenres, like in the New Testament, there are parables, riddles, sermons, and to a lesser extent, there are some in the Old Testament as well. And if this is very important, a genre is like a particular game with its own rules. So very important. Unless we understand the rules under which the game is played, what is taking place is bound to be confusing. So if you're watching football European style and you're applying football American rules to it, you won't understand why they don't tackle the person as he's running with the ball to the goal. Why not flatten him? And when someone does flatten him and the referee blows the whistle, you're confused as to what was the problem. That looked like a perfectly good tackle to you, right? So you have to know what the rules are for that particular genre. The reader must be on the same page as the author. That's for the genre. And the author determines what the rules are by choosing the genre that he chose. There is a covenant of communication, therefore. The author cannot answer our questions because the author is not around, right? But the type of genre that he chose, it's possible to question the passage based on the genre because the rules that of the genre will apply as we read it. So we interrogate the genre using those rules, and that will give us some idea. Okay, let the author's choice of genre determine the rules we use to understand his or her words. Daily normal activity like text, news, music, menu, instructions, these we deal with every day. It is nothing new to us. We don't listen to a news the same way we listen to music. Otherwise, the words would be, because sometimes you're listening to music and the words aren't even in proper order. The adjectives may follow the nouns, or depending on how the author can get the words to fit into the rhythm of the music. And the music aims the lyrics in a song tend to be hyperbole. Like the author of the song may say, "If you leave me now, I am going to die." If it's a news, or if someone is telling you something like that factually, you'd call 911. But in a song, you recognize that he's not really going to die. He's just being hyper emotional, right? Exaggerated. So rules will lead you to the meaning. The rules of the genre will lead you to the meaning of the text. Okay, so the surrounding text. The text surrounding the passage that you're studying. You look at the words, the sentences, the paragraphs, and discourses before and after the text studied. Example, Romans 12, 1-2. The context includes the entire book. So Romans 12, 1-2 will say, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, to render your body as living sacrifices. To understand why Paul is urging them or begging them to do such a great thing, you'd have to go back to chapters 1-11 to see who they are in Christ and what Christ has done for them and why it is reasonable for them to render their bodies as living sacrifices. And then to understand what a living sacrifice is, you then have to go and read the rest of 12 to chapter 16 to understand that he's not talking about going to the altar and crying and weeping and rededicating your life to Christ. He's talking about living in such a way in all aspects of your life that Christ is glorified and your life is a witness, a living witness that you have died to yourself and are now living for Christ. You're a living sacrifice. And remember, in those days, persecution was rampant both by the Jews and the Romans towards Christians. So to declare that Jesus is Lord is equivalent to signing your death warrant. It's just a matter of when or where it can happen. You're just waiting for opportunity. So it would be like saying, once you sign that commitment to Christ, you are a dead man walking. And this is at this point we will switch to the live video. So if you will, please go to lesson number 9, part 2, literary context. And I thank you for your patience, and I hope that this was helpful. May God bless you.